Welcome to the Environmental Health Learn to Earn program, a transformative initiative by Actuate Biomedicine. This program is designed to tackle the pressing environmental challenges faced by communities, especially in Kenya. Our 8-week program combines 2 physical classes and 6 online classes, offered every 2 months. We educate and empower participants by incentivizing their active involvement with Actuate tokens. Our diverse group includes university students and global environmental health community members, creating a dynamic and inclusive learning environment. Communities worldwide face severe issues such as pollution, inadequate access to clean water, and a lack of environmental awareness. These problems lead to pollution from industrial emissions and improper waste disposal, lack of safe drinking water, causing waterborne diseases like cholera and dysentery, unsustainable practices and habitat destruction due to insufficient environmental consciousness. Our program aims to address these issues through 4 main goals: educating participants on the importance of environmental health, building a cohesive global community of environmental activists, promoting sustainable practices at individual, family, and community levels, facilitating practical engagement through activities like tree planting. For individuals, particularly mothers and fathers, environmental health is crucial. It ensures clean air, safe water, and healthy living conditions, essential for maternal health and child development. Families benefit from cleaner surroundings that reduce disease incidence and promote healthier living conditions. A healthy environment supports better pregnancy outcomes and child development. Communities experience improved quality of life and reduced healthcare costs through sustainable practices. Engaging in environmental health fosters collective responsibility and sustainable living. At a national level, a healthy environment supports economic growth by minimizing healthcare expenses and increasing productivity. Eco-health practices strengthen national resilience, ensuring food security and biodiversity preservation. The Environmental Health Learn to Earn program by Actuate Biomedicine is more than just education. It's a movement. By promoting sustainable practices and a comprehensive understanding of environmental issues, we create a ripple effect of positive change, leading to healthier individuals, families, communities, and nations. Join us in fostering a sustainable future. Together, we can make a difference. Welcome to the Environmental Health Learn to Earn program, a transformative initiative by Actuate Biomedicine. This program is designed to tackle the pressing environmental challenges faced by communities, especially in Kenya. Our 8-week program combines 2 physical classes and 6 online classes, offered every 2 months. We educate and empower participants by incentivizing their active involvement with Actuate tokens. Our diverse group includes university students and global environmental health community members, creating a dynamic and inclusive learning environment. Communities worldwide face severe issues such as pollution, inadequate access to clean water, and a lack of environmental awareness. These problems lead to pollution from industrial emissions and improper waste disposal, lack of safe drinking water, causing waterborne diseases like cholera and dysentery, unsustainable practices and habitat destruction due to insufficient environmental consciousness. Our program aims to address these issues through 4 main goals: educating participants on the importance of environmental health, building a cohesive global community of environmental activists, promoting sustainable practices.
Good evening, everybody. It is 8 p.m., so we shall start our classes. I would like to welcome everybody once again to our usual Monday Learn to Earn programs, where we teach our members on environmental sustainable practices, new concerns in terms of environmental security, and how to be better citizens of our planet. So this is a Learn to Earn program where we have an incentivized program. Each class attended earns you a token, which is an Actuate token, which is our cryptocurrency. which is meant to incentivize learning and environmental stewardship. So for today's program, we shall be having a guest speaker, Mrs. Caroline Dama. She will be taking us through her work, what she does for the environment, and how it helps promote it. And later we shall be having an interactive session, which will comprise of our CEO, Dr. Macharia, providing his insights and commentary. And then anyone else who would like to further ask any questions is free to engage in the interactive session. Following that, we shall be having summit announcements by Augustine, as Actuate Biomedicine is hosting a summit in December where we are uniting different sectors to talk about how to promote health and human development. This will also include how to go about promoting sustainable One Health practices. So after that, we shall be having the signing of the attendance form. This attendance form is meant to get information regarding token distribution that we do every end of the month, where we distribute tokens for classes attended. As I've said, this is a learn to earn program. So now I would like to welcome Mrs. Caroline Dama as she takes us through what she does. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you to be able to share what I do. So we run a program in coastal Kenya that is focusing on communities that are in arid and semi-arid lands, what is popularly known as ASAL. And our main focus is food systems and water catchment systems. At the initial start of our project, it was school-based. You'll ask, why schools? Schools are considered a good representation of our community. And so our aim was to build the capacity of children so that they can be able to propagate tree seedlings and also vegetable seedlings. Because we believe true sustainability should start with children. By focusing on children, they can be able to learn the requisite skills that then they can be able to carry with them throughout their life. And then from the children, we're able to work with the PTAs, the parent-teacher associations, and we're able to bring in the communities. So that includes smallholder farmers and also youth groups that are around schools. And so from our inception, we started like about 10 schools. We've been able to impact over 100 schools. Currently, this year, we are focusing on 65 schools, over 35 different farmer groups, 25 youth groups, and usually we have like an impact of over 30,000 households over time through our projects. And I'm glad to be here. I don't know if I'm allowed to share my screen.
Yes, please do.
Okay. I hope you can be able to see it.
Yes, we see it.
Okay. So like I was saying, for today's focus, because we are talking about sustainability, I wanted to focus about smallholder farmers. You might ask why. For instance, Africa has one of the largest growing populations, and people that are really at the heart of sustainability, apart from children, are smallholder farmers, because one of the other basic needs are anchored around food, and so food security. So if you're able to focus on building capacity of smallholder farmers so that whatever they do, well, they're able to grow food systems, they're able to do it in a sustainable way. But what's important, it has to be done in a way that is regenerating the planet so that we are not killing the soils. They are going to be the source of food. Apart from that, it has to be done in a way that also does not affect the water systems so that there's an intersection between food systems and water catchment systems. And so we are focusing on regenerative agriculture in our smallholder communities. Regenerative agriculture is in the name. It's about regenerating. And so ensuring they can be adapting things like organic soil health. So our goals, we have three main goals. One is conservation of existing carbon stocks. So this is done through avoidance of deforestation, improved forest management. That includes alternative income generation. If you look at the three main E's of sustainability, you'll see that it looks at the economy, it looks at the environment. And so it's very important you do not just build the capacity of the communities, you also have to look for them alternatives. And alternatives have to be done in such a way that they are not extracting resources, because at the heart of sustainability is about using today, but also in a way that ensures equitable share for future generations. And so all these alternative income generating activities are done through like agroforestry, so that you can ensure that you encourage conservation. Apart from that, we look at carbon sequestration. That means that you want to increase the carbon stock. So it's done through afforestation, reforestation, and then what we call enhanced natural regeneration. Most of the forests in the world would be able to regenerate on their own if they are just left the way they are. And at the heart of this is the farming communities. Most of the time we are clearing land is so that we can be able to have food systems. And the other reason, of course, is economic development. We want to be able to look for housing. And so we are saying that if you build the capacity of communities, if we can be able to leave most of the forest to regenerate on their own. And so we focus on three main zones. I'll be able to look at this later on. And then lastly, we look at agroforestry. So it has a multi-component. So we look at community food forest projects that combine reduced soil tillage, mulching, mixed cropping, and we can include things like moringa and the African indigenous vegetables. You might ask why the African indigenous vegetables? Because you are building resilience. And for me, resilience is about planting either trees or crops that are already suited to particular climatic conditions. And if we encourage our communities to be able not to run away to have like a perfect mix, they can look at what indigenously we've been able to grow in terms of food. They can also look at the trees, like the indigenous trees, and then mix that with the exotic so that they can use the exotic to be able to meet their income needs, but then also ensuring that it's restorative. So our strategy, we usually ensure community leaders, schools are engaged and their capacity are built so they can act as peer trainers in the community and they can establish their own demo farms, what we call action learning center. So essentially a community action learning center is a place whereby the community themselves learn skills. They're able to have a perfect mix of the traditional and the modern, and then they can do peer-to-peer support. So they can also be able to train other communities. It also ensures ownership and a faster uptake so that the community themselves are the ones to request training. We want to meet communities at their area of need. So it's not us determining what they need. They can be able to meet on their own and they say we require this particular training or we require this particular input. If, for instance, they want agriculture extension officers from the government, you can be able to connect them to that, but it has to come from them. That's how you ensure sustainable projects and ones that are also resilient. So I was talking about the regenerative approach to farming. I just thought maybe I expand more on it. So we usually focus on building the system's health. This usually leads to abundance. So communities can embrace regenerative agriculture, which is a radical approach to farming. So they are able to see the land as a living, breathing system. I think one of the reasons why right now we are really also suffering with food security is because we look at land as just something we can put chemical fertilizer on. We forget that healthy land is biodiverse, so it should also be able to have other organisms, including bees, the earthworms from the small ones to the big ones. You should be able to have cattle. You can also look at the biodiversity in form of even the wild animals. For instance, we know that elephants are really good at preparing land by passing. Some of the seeds that right now are also becoming extinct, it's because they have to pass through the system of an animal. So it's very important to look at the land in that way. It is living and breathing and it's biodiverse. So we encourage that them to see the land as having its own intrinsic capacity for regeneration. So for instance, you have multiple layers of densely stacked trees. You have perennial and annual plants, what we call multi-story, and are implemented together. So that this is also good for resilience because farmers, I come from a community that is notoriously monocropping. So they love their maize. But then if I encourage them to take an approach like this, it means that they stack. So while they're harvesting their maize, they can harvest other things all year round. It really helps in food security and also building resilience. So you have to create what we call forest-like systems. So what we don't have farms, we have what we call food forests. And here you can see an example. This particular one has moringa. So we have a young lady there. It has, you can see some vegetables, and we want them to be like that, like food forest, so that constantly the soil is covered. But what's important is that for this particular community, they're able to harvest all year round. They can harvest their vegetables. This particular community is also able to dry the moringa leaves, and they can have powder, and sometimes they use it for biofortification, especially for the vulnerable among them, including lactating mothers. Sometimes they put it in porridge. They can also use it for the elderly. And for instance, this year, they were also doing the moringa, we call it cocoa moringa soap. So from the dried moringa leaves, you can see, since it's coastal, they're having the coconut trees. So we got them a coconut expeller, and they're able to press for coconut oil. Apart from that, they're now using the soap. So it has dried moringa leaves and a bit of coconut oil. And so for our holistic intervention, we are looking at 3 zones. So you start with the mangrove because we're in the coastal system, and then we call woodland, kaya. So we have sacred forests that are near the farming communities, so to ensure that they can be able to do the reforestation. And then we have the farmland. So for instance, here I showed you a moringa agroforestry one. In some other communities, they're not doing moringa. They are doing the grafted mangoes, they are doing fruit trees, pawpaws. So it depends with the community. Like I said earlier, it has to come from the community. So like, for instance, our impact in the past about 14 months, across all communities, we've had over 230,000 biodiverse trees planted. So this includes across all zones, from the mangrove, from the woodland, and in the farming zones. And then communities have been able to report 65% increased earnings from their agribusinesses. And then I'm having a bit of numbers here. So for instance, we have a school-based program. In this year, we've been able to engage over 214 teachers directly. Because it's school-based, we had the gift of the competency-based curriculum in Kenya. So we're able to embed some of our learnings in schools that way. And then we've engaged over 11,000 community leaders, direct engagement of over 2,710 peoples in green clubs, and we've held over 250 capacity building workshops. And then how do we measure outcomes? Of course, the key indicators, one is soil health and biodiversity. Since we are looking at food systems, it's crop yield and quality. And you can't have sustainability without having a balance between the other things and the economic performance. So we also look at that. So we've held several capacity building workshops. And that's basically what I do. I don't know if anyone has a question.
Thank you very much, Caroline, for taking us through this. It's very interesting. I would also like to welcome Dr. Macharia. I'm sure he has a lot of commentary as well. Welcome, Dr. Macharia.
Okay, thank you. Am I unmuted? I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes, you are unmuted.
Oh, yeah, because it sounds a lot. Well, thank you so much, Caroline. That is mind blowing. Now you've blown my mind, Caroline. So I have to fight my mind to be able to speak to you.
Okay.
Amazing work, Ms. Dama.
Thank you.
How do you get all those 30,000 people? How do you do that?
We have, when you start with the schools, let's say average, we have 65 schools.
Yeah.
And then a school average in Kenya will have especially in rural communities, get like schools have to take cover large population. So you get an average of maybe 300 pupils per school. You multiply by 65, it means that you're reaching over 19,500 community members. And then, of course, you reach out to other neighboring farmer groups. And then we are across 3 counties. So it's possible to be able to impact the numbers. And since we want to look at a holistic nature of our projects, it means that you're not looking at communities that they're living as single issue lives. So some of them might require support in just life skills or just business trainings and other access. So that's how we've been able to reach that. Apart from that, we also use an integrated approach whereby we're also able to reach through other stakeholders. We either build their capacity and they're able to reach more community members.
That's amazing. Wow, that's great work. Now you are so organized.
Thank you.
You should be titled as Wagari Madai herself. Now, great job there you're doing. Now, which counties you say you are? First of all, before you even go county, you say schools. Are they primary schools, secondary schools, or what level of schools are you working with?
So we have a special bias for government schools, and that's primary schools, and also secondary schools, yes.
Primary school and secondary schools in all the counties. You say that you are in the coastal province, ASL. ASL lands, arid, semi-arid, arid is where exactly? That is Lamu?
Yeah, so currently we are focusing on Kwale, Kilifi, and Mombasa. Lamu, we've been able to access it through our stakeholders.
Kwale, Kilifi, and Mombasa. See, I don't know the coast very well. I am a highland man. I come from the mountains.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Amazing. And wow. So let me ask you a question about the trees, because first of all, regenerative. Are they restorative? Are there certain trees that are more restorative than others? Or let's say, you could say,
yes.
Which ones?
Okay. So what's important, so like I touched on it on my presentation, we want communities to decide for themselves. And that means that when you go to a community, you really have to look at the indigenous trees that are there. It means that they are suited to their soils. And apart from that, it means that they are suited to their climate. And so, for instance, I touched on moringa. Apart from that, we encourage our communities to use a lot of African indigenous vegetables.
Okay.
And apart from that, I talked about stacking. So we always ensure that the soil is covered. And so you have cover crops, crops that usually meander, like they don't stay in one place. So you could have things like sweet potatoes, you could have the pumpkins. They don't stay in one place. And so they are able to be restorative in nature. And if you encourage communities not to do monocropping, it's also really good for the soils. What I've learned that when you don't disturb the soil as much, it tends to restore on its own. Restoration goes hand in hand with biodiversity. So you can't say your soil is being restored if you go into the soil and you can't see a single earthworm. If you look in the sky, you don't see a single bee flying. And so it's really important for communities to be able to see that. That's what I was talking about, a living and breathing system. So restoration is almost holistic in nature. It's about biodiverse systems. And also it's about ensuring that soils themselves, are able to retain moisture and they avoid monocropping. And last but not least, it's about working with indigenous trees and also trees that are not extractive. Like there are trees like bamboos. And we have, for instance, there's one that we call Lucina. That's a really good fodder crop. But sometimes if you plant it wrong, it's very invasive. Like it will take over. And so it's very important they're able to identify trees that, may take over an ecosystem and then that will not help. And so it takes a lot of learning, observation, and also reaching out to partners like maybe KFS or CAMFRE, the ones that are able to study an ecosystem.
Okay, well, some trees are parasitic. They behave like parasite. When they come to your land, they really conquer
yes.
everything.
Yeah.
Well, big message here for all of you. The soil is living and breathing. Whoever thought that? Who could have thought that the soil breathes and lives like a human being? You know something wrong about humans? We think we are the only ones who live and breathe. That's one thing wrong about humans. So we go destroying all the other living and breathing organisms, including the soil. Not understanding that our survival on this planet relies upon the living and breathing soil. So that's an important message. So if you leave this meeting without anything else, remember the soil is living and breathing, and you have to treat it the way you would treat your own baby, your own child. Feed it. So, another question about trees, the moringa tree. Why is moringa so advantageous?
Okay. Thank you for the question. So for us, moringa is advantageous because it's considered a food crop. It has a lot of benefits. So like if you go through the moringa tree on its own, you can start from even the flowers. Some people use them for medicinal, like they can be able to crush them. Apart from that, if you go to the leaves, for instance, for communities that we're encouraging to do the African indigenous vegetables, sometimes they mix them with the moringa and makes really good food. What I like about the moringa, because we are in arid and semi-arid lands, it is its ability to withstand drought-like conditions. So for instance, last year, there's a time we had a drought that lasted almost 2 years. And communities really survived on moringa because it's able, with its taproot system, it's really able to store a lot of water. Our communities are also agropastoralists, which means that they need fodder for their animals. The leaves of the moringa are really good fodder also for the animals, especially if you have goats or cows that are lactating. It really boosts milk production. That's what happens in animals also happens in human beings. When you feed moringa to lactating mothers, it also boosts their milk production. When you look at vulnerable members of the community, for instance, those are sick, those are elderly, children, it's also really good for malnutrition. It's been told it has a lot of nutrients, over 20. It's very rich in calcium, very rich in vitamin C. So it's a really good crop. If you go down, for instance, to the roots, if you're able to extract the root without killing the tree, it's very good for cold. If you're having a cold, a cough, or you're having your nose, it's, sometimes when you have a lot of cold and you can't breathe well, it's really good for that. Then if you go to the seeds, some people use it for high blood pressure. They can take like 2 or 3, so it really helps them with that. Others use it just as an immune booster. They take it. But for most of my communities, they've been communicating about the high blood pressure. So like when they feel stressed, or some of them already are predisposed to high blood pressure, sometimes they chew like 2 seeds to 3. Apart from that, communities can also dry the seeds and then press them for oil. For instance, if you look into history, ancient Egypt used to have an oil they used to call the ben oil. The ben oil was actually from moringa. Right then, it used to be buried with the pharaohs and the queens because it's good for stretch mark. It's very good for the skin. Even if you have ringworms, it's able to help that. So it's considered very high value oil. So you can imagine a pharaoh choosing to take it to the underworld when they are buried, when they reach heaven. So it used to be used to that. So in short, through saying a lot of things, moringa is quite beneficial to our communities because it's a multi-use crops. Apart from that, it's a good agroforestry tree, as in it does not interfere with other crops because of its taproot system. Sometimes you plant some trees and, they tend to have the fibrous roots, so they are spreading all over. Moringa is taproot. So it just goes down and you can be able to plant it with other vegetables. You can plant it with your other staples like the maize or the cassava. So that's why our communities love it.
Amazing moringa. Did you, well, first of all, everybody in this meeting should actually know about moringa. Moringa is the most potent tree available in the communities because it's like a whole pharmacy. Moringa will treat your high blood pressure, will treat your immune problems, will increase your appetite, will increase your milk production, what in the world? It lowers even blood sugar. See? So treat diabetes. So moringa is one of those plants classified as superfoods. Moringa is a superfood that it is everything you need to stay healthy. You could say it's a pharmacopoeia. You could say if you're reading the textbook of pharmacy and you don't find something that moringa can do in there, you know that you have not finished reading the book. So moringa is a whole textbook of pharmacy, textbook of medicine. It's applied medicine. That is super amazing. And you see these things are there available in the country, in our nature. All we have to do is plant them. Let me tell you, I'm now in the United States, I'm in Boston. Moringa seeds go for a lot of money. They sell them in this alternative medicine centers called GNC. And they even sell moringa tea leaves, which is, see those moringa flowers? The dried flowers, and then they are dried and put in packets like ketepa tea. And then people use them for making tea, infusion tea. So that moringa tea, people drink it for happiness, even to lower their blood pressure, to improve the mood, because it works with your nervous system to calm you down. So moringa is very popular in the United States itself. Yeah, particularly for the uppity crowd who want to practice, alternative medicine. That means the rich people of the US, they drink moringa. See, the way we drink a cup of tea every morning, then they drink moringa, and then they drink at 10, and then they drink moringa at lunch. So even moringa, if you package it, you're going to export it to Americans, even to Europeans. So moringa, not only does it have those effective, it's a neuroeffective product, but moringa is also an antioxidant. It reduces inflammation. You see, something called oxidative damage. When you're going about your life every day, you rely on oxygen to generate energy, and sometimes those oxygen molecules, they can go there and attach to, just during your normal daily activities, they attach something else. I mean, they oxidize your tissues. And sometimes the oxygen, oxygen is two molecules of oxygen tied together. So if they become three, something called superoxide, that now causes something called oxidative stress, because that superoxide is highly reactive. It needs to get removed out of your system. So what antioxidants, things like moringa, do is to come and mop out all that superoxygen, and it removes it from your system. So it removes, actually reduce the oxidative stress. The problem with that superoxide is that it breaks down your DNA, and then you get cancer. See, so a lot of cancers come due to oxidative stress. Oxidative stress, causes inflammation and all that. So you could say that's how moringa is anti-inflammatory. It reduces inflammation by reducing oxidative stress. And then moringa, I remember when I was young, my father, when he reached a certain age, they used to go to dig the roots of moringa tree and boil them to reduce the effect of the prostate enlargement. What's called benign prostatic hyperplasia. So moringa has an effect on the prostatic enlargement. So men of a certain age drink moringa soup. Yeah. So, and the people in the community know that you don't need to go to a pharmacy to get medication for your prostate, but what you need to do is drink moringa. And you see, it controls blood pressure. Can you believe that? Now, how can you have a medicinal plant, just one plant doing all those things? Don't you think? Now, let me ask you, Karen, why is it that moringa is not the national tree of Kenya. Do you think we can do something to make moringa the national tree?
I think to your question, I would say there's this famous quote about my people are dying due to lack of knowledge. And so I think it behooves us people that are in such a space to be able to communicate to communities about such benefits. But then it also has to be done in a way that is restorative to the environment, because sometimes you create a lot of excitement and then people just decide to monocrop it. That also not good for the environment. And so we can ensure that we're able to educate our communities to be able to adapt it, but then to adapt it in biodiverse systems, and also make sure that they're also not losing what's intrinsic of them. Like every community tends to have its own indigenous vegetables or crops that they plant. And so we are telling them, here is a food crop or a food tree that can be able to survive well with your other crops. So I think what's missing is that people knowing about it. And then most of the times that know about it are able to package it and, make a living out of it. So if you go into the supermarket, you can, like you're talking about, you can find the teas made of moringa and they are very expensive.
Yeah.
And yet you'll walk around the villages and there's a lot of moringa, but people are not really seeing its value. And that's why I think we have a special focus on school systems, because for you to be able to change a whole generation's mindset, you have to start with the education system.
Start with the children. Agreed.
Yes.
100%. Now, there's another tree called mwarobaini, Demkilifi.
Yes.
It also has similar characteristics. I don't know whether mwarobaini is edible. Like moringa, you can use it on food. You add it.
Yes. So what works for moringa, it's a relatively smaller tree compared to the mwarobaini. And then moringa is taproot. Mwarobaini is more fibrous. In fact, in our communities, you can't plant mwarobaini near a house. It will crack your house. It is good maybe if you want to use it as a windbreaker, but yes, it has a lot of medicinal properties. You can either use the leaves or sometimes you use the bark and you're able to boil it. And you can even have it as part of a component of a soap that you're making. And it's very good for skin care, especially if you're having skin diseases. So yes.
Mwarobaini grows laterally instead of growing downwards, straightforward like a taproot for moringa.
Yes, it has a fibrous root systems and its roots are very strong. When it really grows, it can break a wall.
Yeah, it tries to grow like an elephant. What's up with that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very powerful. So moringa is very clever. See, it's got a taproot that goes way down to look for water where it is. Even in an arid place, you might think it's arid, but there's water underground. So it's like a borehole. Moringa knows how to get water, like the way you build a borehole. How long is the taproot for moringa? Is it like 10 meters, or how many meters does it go down?
So that will depend on the age of the tree. Of course, all the trees will have longer ones, but yeah, it depends with the age.
It has a deep taproot. That's beautiful. So that's why moringa, I could say it's a sacred plant. Of course, in Mount Kenya region, there was a tree like that where people used to go and worship God. The Kikuyu God was a certain tree. What do they call it? Now somebody knows about that tree, but it is not. I think it's not as powerful. I think it's a fig tree. Yeah, figs also have similar issues, but I think moringa just outbeats all those other trees I've heard of. Okay, well, that we said a little bit about moringa because I think I wanted us to talk about, because moringa is a tree whose products I find in the supermarkets in the United States, and they don't grow moringa here, so they must be coming to collect it in Kenya. So what is remarkable what you have done is something called peer-to-peer program. Peer-to-peer, that you said, peer, people educating people, educating one another. Can you, now, this education for peers, What are they about? Is it they create 3 nurseries together? Or can you tell us a little bit more about that? That participatory community education, which is peer-to-peer.
Yeah, thank you for your question. So ideally, you go into a community and you train a community. A good organization or one that has a futuristic lens is always cognizant of the fact that sometimes when you're a nonprofit, your funding could run out, and that communities stay. They are one constant. So it's very important to model the kind of interventions that encourage the community themselves to be their own resource people. And so if you train one community, you encourage them to reach out to the neighboring communities to be able to train. And so in so doing, you're ensuring that the resource stays within the community. So you are not the one source of resource. Apart from that, there's beauty in seeing how communities go. And then communities are so different and biodiverse. And then different communities have different needs. Different communities have different capacities. By them training other communities, they're also able to tap into knowledge that's already there. But from that, I think in Africa, what we are losing out on is the indigenous knowledge. For a reason, we tend to design our capacity building workshops solely based on Western knowledge. And in so doing, we miss out on knowledge that is inherently in the community. We miss out on resources that are inherent in the community. That's our elderly people. They also have knowledge of indigenous seeds, of indigenous trees, and their values and what they used to be used for if they have medicinal property. And so by encouraging things like peer-to-peer training, you're able to also tap into that rich network of knowledge that's within the community. And so it's basically that, for instance, you can start with one women group and then you find ways to connect them. And sometimes you can use things like storytelling or sports or having different village competitions. And so we look at ourselves as more about creating the enabling environment, constantly sensing the community, making sure you understand their needs. You can bring in resource people from outside to come do the training, but you encourage their own peer-to-peer training.
Awesome. Now you know what you're describing. The name of that kind of governance. What's the name of that kind of governance you are describing now? It's called
We haven't called it a governance. We just call it peer-to-peer training.
Yes, you have not given it a name yet. That's why today you're here for baptism.
Okay, thank you. It's always an opportunity to learn, right?
So that is what we call decentralized governance. Decentralized governance. And what you're doing, and of course, that's the way communities have been built ever since when the community had decentralized governance structure. Peer-to-peer, where individuals train individuals. So now our policy here in Actuate Nation is learn one, do one, teach one. See, that is complete peer-to-peer. So for example, if a peer learns about how to create a seed bed, then he creates a seed bed, and then he teaches other peers how to create a seed bed. So that is the cascade of the peer-to-peer training. Learn one, do one, teach one. Then absolute decentralization. Already that is decentralized because you have decentralized power. You empower the local people that eventually, it's not about you planting trees. It is the community deciding what to do or to plant trees or what to grow in their chambers because they have learned, they have done, they have taught. They learn, they do, they teach. Learn one, do one, teach one. Okay, now you will be so pleased to know that ethos of decentralization has come to the finance system itself, which is called decentralized finance. Decentralized finance, or DeFi, on the blockchain. Now, blockchain technology itself, with its decentralized finance, helps to align what you've just described as peer-to-peer training. Because blockchain, as you learn, is peer-to-peer. So eventually, the technology of money, traditionally, money has been centralized. That's why we have central banks and what they call commercial banks. So the finance system or the economy system is incongruent with the idea of peer-to-peer training. or peer-to-peer education or peer-to-peer learning. But now that is old. Now decentralized finance, which is on the blockchain, totally aligns with the idea of peer-to-peer, because the blockchain itself is for decentralized finance, where we can now do peer-to-peer transactions. And so the biggest question, I think, what has been missing in let's say in the world today, in all this narrative, is that when you're talking about environmental sustainability or the sustainability, say the planet sustainability, as you know from Elkin's insights, he said that you need three things. You need the economy, the environment, and the people. People, planet, and environment. People, planet, and money and profit. But the question of how you put the economic development in a peer-to-peer environment has been completely elusive. But now not anymore. Right now, we are now able to tie this peer-to-peer idea with the economic sense or finance sense. Let me tell you how it's going to be now in the new dispensation, the new economic dispensation, which was not there in the traditional economy, is that work that you guys are doing, when the community members come to plant trees together, they don't get paid for it. That money, that work they do, does not appear in anybody's balance sheet, because the traditional finance system does not understand how to put that work on the balance sheet. You cannot find, say, like you have taught 30,000 students, communities, let's say pupils in school, you have taught them all that information about environmental conservation, anything like planting trees. If you were to go to the bank and ask the bank people, can you show us on the balance sheet how you account for all that? They'll tell you, what? So that work is invisible to people in traditional centralized finance. Okay, that is what is somewhat surprising, that this work that's very, very important to sustain the living and breathing soil, to maintain that work is to the traditional finance system, it doesn't matter. So because they cannot account for it, it cannot be counted. They cannot say. But now we are now able to put that in the balance sheet, the new balance sheet of the new economy, which is known as decentralized finance. How do you do that? The way to do that is as follows. Every student who is planting a tree or is doing those things, we find out what's that student doing, and then you allocate tokens on the blockchain, like Actuate tokens. These tokens can be distributed to everyone who is participating. Like all those 30,000 people, each one of them gets a wallet address, and that wallet address receives tokens that are coming from the blockchain in a system called airdrop. And they come in as rewards for doing good. Because those tokens will be received by the person planting trees or maybe planting moringa, that person can begin earning for just doing the right thing to do. So we get incentivized to do that. Then those tokens themselves are liquid. Those tokens are liquid, meaning that they can be exchanged for value. That means the value of the work that that person is doing is represented in the marketplace. That value has never, ever, ever, ever seen its way to the market because the traditional finance system does not recognize it. It doesn't appear in any balance sheet. But on the blockchain, when people receive token, that value gets represented right away. Rather, it gets codified. Codified value multiplies itself. Then it can be put in liquidity pools, and that's something that people will be learning a lot. Liquidity pools, where in those liquidity pools, it provides liquidity. That means it makes transactions liquid that people are able to buy and sell what liquidity is about is being able to buy and sell. Because let's say tokens are currency, they operate as currency like Kenya shilling, but they are much more liquid than Kenya shilling. Why are they much more liquid? It's because Kenya shilling is boundary specific, or belongs to Kenya. But tokens on the blockchain have no boundary. They are boundaryless. That anyone, whether it's in Guatemala or Peru or in Russia, for example, so the tokens are indifferent to where you are. And so these are very profound conversations, but I just want to tell you that the ethos of peer-to-peer is equals to the same ethos in the blockchain and completely aligns with that thing that the centralized finance system has never, ever been able to understand. And you cannot comprehend it. Centralized finance system cannot comprehend that because it is founded on a different type of mathematics, the old type of mathematics. There's something called new math, the mathematics of disequilibrium. And that's a lot of detail. But I just want to tell you this very amazing, mind-blowing. That's why I said, you have blown my mind, Ms. Dama Caroline. Because then we have to wonder what is next after this. So the goal of doing these learn-to-earn sessions is, first of all, to build awareness about that alignment of the new economy of the new math, way of the blockchain itself, then so people can understand them, even how to receive tokens. Now, the issue about tokens, what's maybe would be a problem, is that tokens are only accessible to you if you've got a cell phone. Well, primary school kids do not have cell phones, but they have parents who have got cell phones, so that the parents can receive tokens on their behalf. And so far, tokens have only been distributable to people with smartphones, because the wallets have been made for smartphones so far. But there's this company called Silver Foundation, which is there in Nairobi, Kenya, also making a wallet for USSD phone. That wallet looks like M-Pesa wallet, which relies on telephone number. So what I would imagine, among those 30,000 people who are involved in your project, probably all of them have got access to a cell phone, isn't it? So that means if everyone has got access to cell phone, then everyone has got access to the blockchain. And the blockchain is the new market, where people can participate in making market for their own economy. And so all that poverty that seems to be there in Africa, as you said, people have got a lot of resources, but they cannot, even that indigenous knowledge that's the community, it doesn't change, or we're not able to use it because we do not understand finance. That's it. So what's also very impressive and mind-blowing about your work, you've described several things, that with moringa and coconut oil, you can combine them and create bathing soap. Can you believe that? This bathing soap, people go to the supermarket to buy bathing soap, and also with that moribaini also, because moringa has got antiseptic activity that when you wash your body with it as a soap, it just kills some bacteria that on your skin, or even some fungi and things like that trying to grow on your skin. And so it's morobaini. So I'm telling you, there's a huge economic potential. That economic potential, to evoke that economic potential, or to actuate that economic potential, only will happen on decentralized finance. It cannot happen with the centralized finance system the way it is today. That's why we need now, because you have understood peer-to-peer, you understand it very well. And the next thing is to understand peer-to-peer from the economic or the finance perspective, which is decentralized finance. So now one final question for you, Dama. Where did you learn all this good knowledge? So we can send all our children over there in that school.
There's what you learn in school. So I'm a trained high school teacher. I did Bachelor of Education. And then some of the other things, I think the leaders of today really have to learn to adapt and be able to, especially when you want to do community projects, you have to be able to design projects based on community needs. That requires a high level of adaptation and constant learning. And I think we are living in a very good time. There is access to a lot of tools and resources, even online. You can do short courses and you can be able to learn on the job. What's important is constantly sensing your community. And also, I was listening to you talk about the blockchain and decentralized financing. I put in the chat, I wrote an article about community currencies.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you can read about it. So for me, in the environmental space and food system space, I understand how it's very important to look at the economy. Otherwise, you cannot be able to sustain interventions in the community. And so some years back, we did community currencies in our community. Yeah. You can be able to research more about that. But essentially, it's about a formalized barter trade system. Because I was listening to you talk about how you are able to monetize some of the things that we do. And I believe good economic systems are also anchored in the social aspect of the community, hence the community currencies. So essentially it means that if you have communities that are perceived to be poor, it does not mean they should lack access to liquidity just because they don't have money. And what's good about our project is that over time, we were able to partner with Grassroots Economics Foundation, and we were able to make it digital. And so we leveraged on the blockchain, like you were talking about. And so they were able to trade their community currencies via blockchain. And part of what I did also, I helped to write, I don't know if you've read the African Union report on blockchain technologies. Maybe I'll send it to Linda later on. But I helped also write sort of a guideline about blockchain technologies for the African Union. So it's something I'm passionate about, the intersection between traditional and technology, food systems, and all that. Because currently we're also trying to leverage on the artificial intelligence, what people are calling AI. And we are also using a bit of remote sensing so that we can be able to support our communities to bring about trust. So that when you say that you've done interventions in the community, whoever wants to partner with the community or support them can truly trust the interventions. And so we are leveraging on a lot of technology on that. And I think that's where sustainability is, the constant adaptation, the constant learning. Because if you asked me when I joined the first year of university that this is where I'd be, and I'd have learned all this, it couldn't have been possible. I think also an openness to learning, like I ensure I'm always interacting, like for our blockchain technology, the one we're doing, I learned a lot from university students. Like I had a lot of what people call techies who are doing a lot of computer science. They came and they sat and decided to design the project. And in the process, I learned from them. So I really appreciate what you're doing, especially for the youngsters in Africa. And we have so much to learn from them.
Listen, I've been following your you're talking with the Radic for African Grassroots.
Yes, William Radic.
William Radic, they were there in, is it called Bangladesh?
Yes.
Bangla. And they had trouble with CBK, a Central Bank of Kenya, because they couldn't understand. See, I followed that story, and I've been reading your work, by the way, because the paper they wrote that was quite moving is called "What Is Money?" See, and Radic, he's called William Radic.
Yes, called William Radic. Yes.
So there are three people there: William Radic, Will Radic, and who else? Forget them. They all got that paper. What is money? Anyway, so I am familiar, and of course you're going to refresh, and we should teach everybody. Listen to you, everyone here. That I'm telling you, they have really struggled to create community currency, which came at a very severe attack in the Kenyatta government, and they tried to throw those people in jail, Eventually, it was proven in courts. The whole case was dismissed, by the chief magistrate saying, okay, people have a right to create their own currency. Can you believe that? And that was monumental. That was before even blockchain came along in Kenya. Bitcoin was there already, but so then they have another project in Nairobi, which is in Kamangware, is it? Yeah. So I know. So so I'm so glad. First of all, that's why I'm telling you this, because I'm so glad that you have worked with Bill Radic. And what I want to tell the members, other young people in this community, you don't learn these things from school, okay? You learn by staying curious. Because you're seeing Caroline has very advanced knowledge, very, very advanced knowledge. You're not going to be taught these things by your professors alone. It is your own effort. Bidii yako inakuwa kwa. So to get all this knowledge, because you can see this is a knowledge that traverses multiple disciplines. It is in economy, it's in finance, it's in environment, it is in health, it's in nutrition. You don't find it in any one particular college degree. You have learned it from many, many, many sources. So this is why don't spend a lot of time with idle talk or small talks out there in community. Talking about Rigathi Gachagua, who is going to get deposed. That's nonsense. Okay, it's politics. Forget about it. It's the real things happening. And if you focus now on the real issues in the environment, real issues in health, then you understand agriculture, food production. That is where the matter is. So, and I saw that Bill Radic, they had tried to talk to the United Nations, to talk to them about. Now I wonder, is the UN helping, supporting you in all this?
So William has spent a lot of time in that space. He's currently doing something with the World Food Program and the Kenya Red Cross for refugees along the space of blockchain technology and the digital currencies. So he's, yeah.
Tell him I would like us to talk to. Can we have a conversation? Do you have access to William? Are you able to reach him?
Yes. So I think after the call, I'll leave my email with Linda. Then we can talk, and then I can introduce you to see if you can talk.
Absolutely, because we need to broaden this conversation. Because another thing I want to tell you is that I'm in the diaspora.
Yes.
People in African diaspora have not had this good news. Okay, we want to, because now with all this knowledge, I know there's some people reading William's work, but they are not integrating it. How can we now integrate the diaspora so that it can participate? You see, like blockchain, as I was saying, is boundaryless. Someone in diaspora can get those tokens, and then they are liquid and they are available in the local village. And so one thing that's going to be monumental in particular these programs is figuring out how to raise funds using quadratic funding to sponsor these projects rather than looking for grants out there. But see that the diaspora sends money every day. People in the diaspora sending billions of dollars back home. But if that money can be streamlined, it would have a monumental effect, even to create those industries that can commercialize these products from moringa, products from coconuts, products from warubaini, and they get packaged and they go into international markets, whether they are sold in the European markets or to the Asian markets or even to the United States. But that type of force would require concerted effort, putting all the people on one platform. Now, on the blockchain, for example, if now you guys have a blockchain program, you have tokens, and we have tokens. Now, these two tokens, your tokens, the token for your project and the tokens for Actuate projects, they become a powerful force, because what is called liquidity is tying one token to another token. Okay, so if I tie Actuate token with Ethereum token called Ether, that is what liquidity is all about. So if in your blockchain project, the William Roddick project blockchain, they have created tokens, they have minted tokens, then all I have to do is tie those tokens, a few tokens with our tokens, and we put them in the liquidity pools. And then you find your tokens becoming supremely liquid. That solves the problem. And that's why it would be a great idea to have conversation with William Roddick. I know about his work. What was that man called? Bangla Pesa? Now, yeah, and I think I've read about that, the blockchain, Bangla Pesa on blockchain. And so, yeah. So let us connect, and I think this is a great meeting. See, I knew you had something to blow my mind even further. Now, Caroline, do you think my mind is left anything at all? So being blown away.
No, I think you talked well about people staying curious, because there's so much to learn, and learning never stops. At every turn, there's something new to learn. And
Awesome.
so, yeah, I hope if they can take away anything, especially for the young people that are in the call today, is that constant need to be curious, to interact, to network with people, because there's so much to learn out there, and to also show up for your community in whatever way that you can. Because like when I called out to the techies to help me with the blockchain technology, they showed up as they were. They'd never done any environmental work, but they did a hackathon, and they're able to give me a solution that we're able to use to automate incentives in the community. So I'm just inviting everyone to show up as they are, to stay curious, and whatever you do, make sure it's in service of others, because I think that's why we are here, to be of service to other human beings, and also to be in service of other biodiversity, not just the plants, the trees, but also other animals, from the ones in the soil to the ones that are flying to the big ones like the elephants.
Awesome. Now, the other thing now, the summit itself is coming up in December. So we expect you out there, we're going to create some big space. There's going to be a big workshop on environmental health. And this is, I think, one of the major presentations that we want there. And if we can now help us mobilize as many people as you want to the summit in Nairobi, it's going to be at KU on December 3 to 6. Did Linda tell you about it?
I know we didn't talk about the summit.
Oh, Linda, secret agent. Okay, so we have the summit in December, and we have between now and December about 6 weeks or so. And so learn more as much about it. Let us invite you. Particularly, I would like William to come and tell us about that bank of person, that community financing will help, particularly the hoops they went through and what they're thinking, because the summit is on using blockchain, decentralized finance, and artificial intelligence for health and human development. See, it's right, exactly what you say. Using blockchain, decentralized finance, and artificial intelligence for health and human development. And in that summit, we're going to have one major workshop known as environmental health. Okay. So,
okay.
Yeah. So that is.
Hello, Doc.
Yeah. Hello.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but Caroline is kind of pressed for time.
Okay.
So I think I will forward everything about the summit to her. She has sent me her email, so I shall forward everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Linda. So back to you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Caroline, for the presentation. It was wonderful work. I will share your article with everyone because it's a must read. And thank you once more for enlightening us on what you do and talking to everybody about how they should also be part of the change. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you too for your time. I really appreciate and for listening to me. Hope you have a lovely evening and day for those in a different time zone.
Awesome.
Likewise. Thank you. Okay, so I guess we shall go to summit announcements. Augustine?
Just a minute. Okay, sorry. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for making time to Actuate environmental health session. And thank you so much, Dama, for that topic presentation, and also Doc for making time to this session today. So, as we all know, we are anticipating a summit, the Actuate Pre-Boston Nairobi Summit, and the theme is all about the discussion of how we can utilize artificial intelligence and blockchain technology to improve global health and even human development. So we are aiming to convene a conversation, bring together various people, and ensure that there is collaboration and idea sharing on how we can create a brighter future, a more equitable future, a healthier future by embracing these technologies. So there are several activities and engagements that are going to take place. And currently, we have several workshops, including environmental health, mental health workshops, health access workshops, biomedical knowledge translation workshop, STEM workshop, water workshop, women's health workshop, and now disease-centric workshops like surgery workshop, diabetes, and all those. And the program is almost coming to a complete so that we can be able to share with our speakers. We all know that we have more than 100 speakers. And when you look at these workshops, they are coming as partners. We have various partnerships closed, like a partnership with KU ICT Center. We have partnership with UN, C4D Lab, which are focusing on cybersecurity. We have partnership with Kidani Mabati guys, and other tech people, and even healthcare people. And so a lot is going on the ground, and we are so much excited. We are so much grateful for this far. And I just want to remind Actuate members that let's ensure that we must be part of the summit, okay? There are several ways we have been highlighting since January. Maybe one is by inviting partners or people to partner with us as sponsors. The other thing is poster presentation. You can do poster. The other thing is now attendees, where it has some fee. So those activities are still open. They're still ongoing. We are still inviting sponsors. We are still inviting attendees. We are still inviting exhibitors. So there's so many activities, and particularly this time. So we encourage you to be part of this, all right? The other partnership we just closed last week is the KU, Kenyatta University uh, teaching, training, teaching and referral hospital. And we're so much happy about that because they came with people over 139 people, and all those are looking forward to come as maybe attendees. So please, you see it's landing. You can still be part of us. And we are not saying that, what we are saying is ensure you come and interact with us. Our CEO will be around so that we interact, we network, and know each other more, because Actuate is a community. Okay, that's why we are here every day talking about this future. So come interact, let's know each other, and how we can work together in bringing this future to reality. Okay, so that's what I can say, and we don't tire, we don't fed up reminding you, and I just hope that you really be part of this. Okay, you should engage, you should understand what we're talking about here. Okay, we are trying to build a future, and I think actually talking without no any doubt is the one that's gonna bring this future to reality. All right, so this is a groundbreaking project, and I just want to say that this far we are much grateful. Things we have implemented, things we are foreseeing to finish implementing this year. I think it's a big milestone. So please be part when we are finishing, right? Yes. So that is from my side, and back to you, Frida. Sorry, Becca, Linda.
Thank you, Augustine. Dr. Machara, is there anything you would like to add before I wrap up the meeting?
Okay, before you wrap the meeting, I'll just say that all of you are most welcome to come to the summit. Of course, summit is for everybody. And we have said this many, many times, so I don't want to burn your ears any further by insisting, emphasizing. It's not even emphasizing. But you can see, so you understand the power of the summit. We are going to have many speeches like what you've just heard from Caroline. Very powerful, the work that people are doing out there in the community. So what I would like all of you to understand is that that work happening on the ground, say with trees like moringa, mwarobaini, these are very highly important trees. One tree alone is like a whole industry. One tree is like an industry. And then you say, why are the people who are growing that tree not industrialized? See, that's the job of the summit to answer that question. That is known as translation science. For those who do not know, how do we translate that industry that is in the tree into an industry in the real economy? Do you see that? How do you make the leap from the tree to the economy? Now that's a summit. That's what's about. It involves building factories, see manufacturing, and to distribution. So building factories that can distribute those products, because not only is moringa that's got a lot of products, but you have coconut, which grows in wild sense in some parts. Then we have mwarobaini, Morubaine means that this tree has got medicines that can cure 40 types of diseases, including malaria. Mhm. Why are we not packaging Morubaine and selling it to the people? Chinese people already know how to do that. So why do we have to wait for China? So that is the work of the summit. And I can tell you that what's going to be happening at that summit is just mind blowing. Where you can see people who already have a lot of knowledge, which now we can say great potential. We want to transmutate that great potential in kinetic energy, becomes dynamic, so it can actually create products. Because if they're already working with young people, young students in high schools, whose job is it now to take that knowledge from high school into commercial products? Okay, so it's really exciting. You could say something that's going to change complete, and of course the understanding. And what Ms. Dama was saying, work with Rudik. I followed Rudik's work since 2005. And he has been there creating Bangla person. And he got you see the CBK to try to put to become very nasty to him. They were trying to arrest them. I think there were 3 of them. Yeah, because we're saying you cannot use those voucher programs that we're using in Kilifi to build a new economy. Yeah, because we're saying those things are not legal tender. But I read the economic theory and it worked out very, very well. Now that they're on the blockchain, you can see now this creates a partnership with people who have been there way since when. Trying to solve this economic problem, which the centralized finance system is not able to do. So decentralized finance. So thank you so much, Linda. That was a very amazing guest presentation. Yeah, let's look for so many other guests like that. I think by the time we come to the summit, we have found so many people, so the summit becomes very meaningful. And so, so she said she's going to send the email to the group, to the chat.
She sent me the email on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, she's already done so. I shall share it with you.
Yeah, and also the article. And then we connect with Rodick. Find out, have you read his work? Theo Rodick, William Rodick. So,
not yet, but I shall be reading on it today.
Yes, and he had one paper, which was, he actually helped me understand this whole thing completely. And I think the paper was "What is money?" or "The value of money." I can't remember. It's cited in our white paper somewhere. Okay. Yeah, I think it's called "What is money?" Yeah. So let's find that paper. It's actually available for free online, and share it in the group as well, so we can also read that work by Rodick about what is money.
All right, no problem.
So, okay.
Okay, so I think I shall be concluding the meeting now. I would like to thank everybody for showing up once again to the meeting. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask by any means, chat or audio. But if there's not any questions, thank you all for showing up. Thank you all for continuous engagement in our classes. This is the end of our cycle 3, as we have had 8 classes in total for our cycle 3, which is same thing as cohort 3. We shall be having our next cohort for the remainder of the few weeks left to the summit. I shall be keeping everybody updated on when classes are going to resume for the cycle 3, which is probably, if not next week, the week after Monday. So thank you all. I am going to put the form in the chat, and as usual, you're getting 5 minutes to fill it out. And I would like to emphasize, for those of you who do not have a wallet, it's okay. You can still fill out the form. Then the next time you shall be having an opportunity to put your wallet address at the end. And for the person who showed up in my inbox asking about other relevant information that you need to know as is a new member. We do have other classes within the week if you're interested in joining. Send me a message on WhatsApp. I shall add you in our general group where we send our links to our other classes. So like I mentioned, this is a Learn to Earn program where we give out tokens for all classes that is attended, but the tokens are allocated at the end of the month. So thank you. If any questions, please feel free to ask. If not, the meeting is adjourned. See you next time.
All right, thank you, Linda. Bye.
Also, as you fill out the form, please exit so that I know you are done with the form.